Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving into the workplace knowledge domain of the 2025 SHRM BASK. Get out your notebooks, pen, and your favorite drink. Let's dive in. Before we get started, I know fewer than 20% of my viewers are subscribed to the channel. It would be a great help if you subscribed. It's free, and it helps the channel grow. Subscribing is quicker than leaving a comment, but if you'd like to leave a comment and let me know what types of videos you'd like to see next, I'd love to hear what you think. Given today's video, let's hear a word from our friends at Exam Edge. Exam Edge specializes in realistic online practice tests with detailed feedback for every question. This means you're not just memorizing answers, you're actually mastering the material, which is key to acing your exam. One of their most popular categories is human resources, offering bundles of 1, 5, 10, or even 15 practice tests for certifications like the SHRM CP and PHR. Personally, I choose the 10 or 15 test bundle. You get more questions for a better rate and even bonus freebies. What sets them apart for me is the unlimited access to unique questions. With over 1,300 for the SHRM CP alone, you'll be well prepared and confident for exam day. Ready to take your prep to the next level? Visit the links in the description box below depending on which test you're studying for, and use the code SHIRLEY10 at checkout. That is SHIRLEY10 at checkout to save 10% on your order. By using my links, you'll not only save money, but also support this channel. Let me know in the comments if you've tried Exam Edge or have any questions. Happy studying! The workplace knowledge domain covers crucial HR knowledge relating to the workplace. Its functional areas include managing a global workforce, risk management, corporate social responsibility, and U.S. employment law and regulations. To be successful at their jobs, HR professionals need to know how to manage a global workforce to achieve organizational objectives, manage organizational risks and threats to the safety and security of employees, contribute to the well-being and betterment of the community, and comply with applicable laws and regulations. Managing a global workforce focuses on the role of the HR professional in managing global and mobile workforces to achieve organizational objectives. Key concepts include HR structures that support global work, including immigration and mobility specialists, geographic centers of excellence, global job classifications, international business travel policies, immigration and mobility including laws, visa processes and requirements, sponsorship expenses, best practices for international assignments including performance expectations and evaluations, health and safety, compensation adjustments, socialization, assessing employee and family readiness, training on culture and resources, language training, education travel grants, rental subsidies, transition plans, repatriation and methods for moving work, including offshoring, onshoring, nearshoring, remote teams. Proficiency indicators for all HR professionals include maintaining up-to-date knowledge of political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors and their influence on an organization's universal workforce, administering and supporting HR activities associated with a global and mobile workforce, balancing the organization's desire for standardization of cross-border HR programs, practices, and policies with local needs, managing and supporting the organization's immigration and mobility program in accordance with regulatory or compliance requirements, and managing the day-to-day activities associated with international assignments. Proficiency indicators for advanced HR professionals include recognizing and responding to global PESTLE issues that influence the organization's strategy and workforce, developing a comprehensive organizational strategy that addresses global workforce issues, consulting with business leaders to define global competencies and embed them throughout the organization, establishing and overseeing the organization's immigration and mobility policy and program in accordance with regulatory or compliance requirements, identifying opportunities to achieve efficiencies and cost savings by moving work across borders, and designing and overseeing programs for international assignments that support the organizational strategy and workforce. Enterprise risk management encompasses a range of processes and best practices, as well as risk treatments. Examples of enterprise risk management processes and best practices include understanding context, identifying risks, analyzing risks, and prioritizing risks. Examples of risk treatments include avoidance, reduction, sharing, and retention. Approaches to qualitative and quantitative risk assessment are also key elements of risk management. Examples of these approaches include single loss expectancy and annualized loss expectancy. Risk management further involves understanding risk sources and types. Examples of risk sources include project failures and insufficient resources, while examples of risk types include hazard, financial, operational, and strategic risks. Legal and regulatory compliance auditing and investigation techniques support organizational accountability. Examples include audit or investigation plans and corrective actions. Quality assurance techniques and methods are also essential and may include after-action analysis and industry-specific standards. Planning for business recovery and continuity of operations is critical. Examples include business continuity and disaster recovery plans, as well as evacuation procedures and simulations. Emergency and disaster preparation and response planning is also crucial. Examples of emergencies and disasters include communicable disease, natural disaster, severe weather, terrorism, and man-made disasters. Examples of preparation and response planning include communication mechanisms and evacuation plans. Safety and security concerns and prevention are fundamental to protecting people and assets. Examples include workplace violence, active shooter scenarios, theft, fraud, corporate espionage, sabotage, kidnapping and ransom, insider threat, and data breach. Workplace and occupational injury and illness prevention, investigations, and workspace solutions also play a vital role. Examples include identification of hazards and safety training. Finally, approaches to a drug-free workplace help ensure a safe and compliant environment. Examples include drug testing and treatment of substance abuse. Proficiency indicators for all HR professionals include monitoring PESTLE factors and their influence on the organization, administering and supporting HR programs, practices, and policies that identify and/or mitigate workplace risk, implementing crisis management, contingency, and business continuity plans for the HR function and the organization, communicating critical information about risks and risk mitigation to employees at all levels, conducting due diligence investigations to evaluate risks and ensure legal and regulatory compliance, conducting workplace safety and health-related investigations, auditing risk management activities and plans, maintaining and ensuring accurate reporting of internationally accepted workplace health and safety standards, and incorporating anticipated level of risk into business cases. For advanced professionals, indicators elevate to developing, implementing, and overseeing formal and routinized processes for monitoring the organization's internal and external environments to identify potential risks, monitoring and evaluating labor market, industry, and global trends at the macro level for their impact on the organization, examining potential threats to the organization and guiding leadership accordingly, developing, implementing, and overseeing a comprehensive enterprise risk management strategy, developing crisis management, contingency, and business continuity plans for the HR function and the organization, communicating critical information about risks and risk mitigation to senior-level employees and external stakeholders. Ensuring that risk management activities and plans are audited and the results are used to improve risk mitigation strategies. Overseeing workplace safety and health-related investigations and reporting. Establishing strategies to address workplace retaliation and violence. Leading after-action debriefs following significant workplace incidents, and evaluating the anticipated level of risk associated with strategic opportunities. Corporate social responsibility represents the organization's commitment to operate ethically and contribute to economic development while improving the quality of life of the workforce and their families, as well as of the local and global community. Key concepts in corporate social responsibility include HR-related activities that support sustainability. Examples of these activities include promoting human rights, maintaining safety practices, upholding labor standards, supporting performance development, advancing inclusion and diversity, managing compensation, and overseeing supply chain management. Organizational philosophies and policies also play a key role in CSR initiatives. Examples include development, integration, and the pursuit of shared value across business practices. Implementing a CSR strategy involves several important steps. Examples include developing a business case, obtaining executive approval, selecting recipients, identifying and analyzing performance indicators, and recruiting and organizing participants to carry out the strategy. Effective CSR also depends on approaches to community inclusion and engagement. Examples include representation on community boards, joint community projects, and encouraging employee volunteerism. Proficiency indicators for all HR professionals include acting as a professional role model and representative of the organization when interacting with the community, identifying and promoting opportunities for HR and the organization to engage in CSR activities that align with the organization's CSR strategy, identifying opportunities to incorporate environmentally and socially responsible business practices and sharing them with leadership, helping staff at all levels understand the societal impact of business decisions and the role of the organization's CSR strategy in improving the community. Maintaining transparency of HR programs, practices, and policies, where appropriate, and coaching managers to achieve an appropriate level of transparency in organizational practices and decisions. For advanced HR professionals, indicators include developing a CSR strategy that reflects the organization's mission and values, coordinating with business leaders to integrate CSR objectives throughout the organization, coordinating with business leaders to develop and implement appropriate levels of corporate self-governance and transparency, partnering with business leaders to develop strategies that encourage and support environmentally and socially responsible business decisions, aligning CSR activities with the organization's CSR strategy and engaging the organization's workforce and the community at large, and using metrics to measure and report how the organization's CSR programs enhance the employee value proposition, positively impact HR programs, or contribute to the organization's competitive advantage. U.S. employment law and regulations refers to the knowledge and application of all relevant laws and regulations in the United States relating to employment, provisions that set the parameters and limitations for each HR functional area and for organizations overall. Key concepts in U.S. employment law and regulations begin with employment and authorization to work. This includes foundational laws and processes such as the Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986, Form I-9 and E-Verify, and various visa types including H-1B and F-1. Other related concepts include green cards, employment at will, background checks, the Fair Credit Reporting Act of 1970, and the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals policy. Compensation is another major area, encompassing several key legislative acts. Examples include the Davis-Bacon Act of 1931, the Walsh-Healey Public Contracts Act of 1936, and the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, including amendments like the 2020 overtime rule. Additional important laws are the Equal Pay Act of 1963, the McNamara-O'Hara Service Contract Act of 1965, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, the Affordable Care Act's Break Time for Nursing Mothers provision, and the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act of 2009, influenced by the Ledbetter v. Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company case. Employee relations are governed by a number of key statutes and court decisions. These include the National Labor Relations Act of 1935, also known as the Wagner Act, the Labor Management Relations Act of 1947, and the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act of 1959. Other relevant laws and cases include the Electronic Communications Privacy Act of 1986, the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act of 1988, the Employee Polygraph Protection Act of 1988, NLRB v. Weingarten, and Lechmere Incorporated v. NLRB. Job safety and health regulations are critical for compliance and workplace well-being. Key examples include the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970, the Drug-Free Workplace Act of 1988, and the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. Additional considerations include guidelines on sexual harassment and workers' compensation programs. Equal employment opportunity laws promote fair treatment in the workplace. Notable legislation includes the Civil Rights Act of 1964, particularly Title VII, the Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967 and its amendments, and the Equal Employment Opportunity Act of 1972. Other important laws include the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, the Vietnam-era Veterans Readjustment Assistance Act of 1974, and the Uniform Guidelines on Employee Selection Procedures. Court cases such as Griggs v. Duke Power Company, Phillips v. Martin Marietta Corporation, and McDonnell Douglas Corporation v. Green also shape EEO practices. Additional legislation includes the Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978, the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 and its amendments, and the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2008. Leave and benefits regulations support employees in managing health, family, and other responsibilities. Relevant laws include the Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1985, the Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993 and its expansions in 2008 and 2010, and the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act of 1994. The Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act also plays a role, particularly in providing for nursing mothers. Additionally, the ADA and its amendments allow for leave as a reasonable accommodation. Important cases include EEOC v. Verizon and National Federation of Independent Business v. Sibelius. The Defense of Marriage Act, although overruled in 2013, also impacted benefits policy during its tenure. Finally, miscellaneous topics in employment law and regulation include issues like drug screening and the evolving legal treatment of medical marijuana. For all HR professionals, proficiency indicators include maintaining a current working knowledge of relevant domestic and global employment laws, ensuring that HR programs, practices, and policies align and comply with laws and regulations, coaching employees at all levels in understanding and avoiding illegal and non-compliant HR-related behaviors, and brokering internal or external legal services for interpretation of employment laws. For advanced professionals, indicators elevate to include maintaining current, expert knowledge of relevant domestic and global employment laws, establishing and monitoring criteria for organizational compliance with laws and regulations, educating and advising leadership on HR-related legal and regulatory compliance issues, overseeing fulfillment of compliance requirements for HR programs, practices, and policies, and ensuring that HR technologies facilitate compliance and reporting requirements. That's all for today's lesson. If you're interested in getting notified when we upload a new video, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. Remember, HR is more than just acronyms. It's about people and possibilities. Time to clock out until next time. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.